Hi, in today's webinar, we'll be taking a look at Microsoft Copilot for Security, which became generally available in April this year. So we'll start off taking a look at the security landscape to understand why the tool is needed, and then we'll delve into some of the capabilities that Copilot for Security brings. So first of all, if we take a look at today's security landscape, you can see from some of the stats there the challenges that security teams and analysts are facing. So the massive number of attacks that are happening, the speed at which they're happening as well, combined with the shortage of cybersecurity skills in the market, presents a massive challenge for security teams. So they've always been kind of fighting a battle, but the numbers are getting bigger, the times are getting shorter, and the number of skills needed is increasing all the time. So to counter that, we're going to need to change the approach and think about some of the things that aren't working at the moment. So often there's multiple complex tools in place to deal with security. That mean teams are having to context shift across multiple systems and analyze data that's in disparately stored across lots of different systems. There's disconnected processes, both in terms of kind of technology, but also human processes as well. That talent shortage we've talked about, and the fact that security attacks are getting more sophisticated, they're getting faster, they're getting broader, and they're coming from more and more places as the world changes. So we really need to address those challenges with a new way of thinking and a new approach to security, which is what Copilot brings us. So AI allows us to rethink some of those things. So AI can process data and make decisions at far greater scale and speed than a human can. So with the use of AI, we're able to continuously assess and improve security posture, as I say, at the kind of speed and scale that a human wouldn't be able to do. And we can also use modern tools to improve collaboration and productivity and streamline some of those workflows that present challenges. So not having to switch between multiple systems and analyze lots of different data sets whilst dealing with security issues, we can use AI tools and techniques, and kind of generative AI and natural language interfaces to speed up those processes and respond to those threats at speed. So the consolidation of tools and the use of generative AI is what's going to be transformative here. So the tool consolidation piece allows us to coordinate our response effort across all of the security tools that are in place. And using AI tools within there as well, we can massively speed up what humans are capable of, giving them access to the tools and technologies they need to defend security both quickly and at scale as well. So what does Copilot for Security bring us? So there's a few different moving parts here that are all brought together under the Copilot for Security banner. So ultimately, we've got all of these things kind of feeding the machine learning model. So we've got threat intelligence, we've got integrations with a vast range of products and lots of sources of telemetry. That big data set is what allows us to feed that machine learning model and use the AI tools within the platform. And bringing together skills and knowledge as well, and then combining that with best practices. So all of those things mean that Copilot for Security really gives us an edge over existing security tools. We can see some interesting stats here as well. So there's a good quote there from a Copilot for Security customer. So it takes us 3 minutes to do a task that used to take at least a few hours. So as we move through the session today, we'll understand where some of those efficiency gains come from in terms of process, but also the ability to use natural language and reason over a large data set as well. So yeah, speeding up response times, so reducing from hours or days to minutes the time to respond to a security issue, simplifying complex tasks, whether that's analysis or scripting, coding, those kinds of things, being able to spot things that a human might miss. So the AI and machine learning models are working at speed and at scale, and they're not having to rely on a human to analyze data sets and spot patterns and things. So they're able to catch things that a human would potentially miss. And they enable us as well to strengthen a team's expertise. So you can potentially fill some of those resource gaps that we've talked about, both by automating some of those processes, but also enabling more junior and less experienced members of the team to execute some tasks that they otherwise wouldn't be able to. So what does that tool consolidation piece look like? So ultimately, the Copilot technology is built on Microsoft's partnership with OpenAI, combined with Microsoft's already broad security tool set. So that tool set is producing data and alerts and insights, and then we can overlay AI on top of that to really deliver the value that we're talking about here. So that's the scale, it's the speed, it's the fact that it's evergreen, so it's consuming that data on an ongoing basis, and always improving, learning more, and adding skills into the kind of toolbox there. So Microsoft's threat intelligence is already powered by the largest vector coverage in the world, so 65 trillion signals daily and growing, being fed into the platform, so driven by the largest cloud in the world, consuming data from getting on for 1.5 billion endpoints across the globe, and all connected by a global infrastructure in Microsoft's Azure platform. So the scale that we're operating at here is giving AI the edge, and particularly Microsoft's AI the edge there, because it's got so much intelligence and so much telemetry being fed into the model there, and able to understand and respond to those threats. So this is an interesting graphic. So you can see Copilot for Security sits in the middle of the landscape here, and then you've got Microsoft's threat intelligence products that we know about already sat around that. So we've got Defender, Sentinel, Entra, Purview, Priva, and InTune. So these are all feeding the Copilot for Security engine, and the AI models that sit within that. So it's a set of kind of known and understood tools within the industry and within the Microsoft platform, and then a new way of interacting with that data and running processes over the top of that in the Copilot for Security tool that sits in the middle there. And there's a couple of different experiences with Copilot for Security. So there's the standalone experience that we're looking at here. So this is a dedicated portal where we can go in and execute prompts. So things like tell me about an incident, or help me to resolve this problem, or go and investigate this thing. So we can run all of this through the Copilot for Security standalone portal. There's also guides in there as to how to create a good prompt, and prompt books, so that we can start to create a library of prompts as well that we can use later on. And the kinds of things we can ask Copilot for Security, so kind of general, how can I improve my security posture? That's going to go and look at, take a kind of holistic look at the environment and provide some recommendations. Go and look for specific machines that are affected by a security incident. Summarize an incident for me in understandable language. Tell me about the kind of alerts that are being triggered the most. Tell me about a specific type of vulnerability. Tell me about a specific incident. So you can see that the possibilities are endless there. And as with other Copilot technologies, a lot of the art there is in prompting. So there's lots of tools in there to help with that process to kind of create prompts, but also refine them and improve them as well. So it comes back to that piece around being able to upskill more junior resources. Effectively, the knowledge is within the platform to do that, so we can help them on that journey. That's the kind of standalone experience. The other way of interacting with Copilot for Security is the embedded experience. So what we mean by embedded is that's when we're working in existing tools, so Defender, Sentinel, etc. We've got Copilot embedded in those products as well. So following that same prompt and response kind of paradigm, within those tools, we can go and say, tell me about this incident, tell me which devices are affected, those kind of things within the flow of work in those tools. So we've got a couple of different options for accessing the tooling. And this is just a bit of a comparison, but it ultimately tells you both in the standalone experience and in the embedded experience, we've got access to Copilot over the top of all of those tools, so Defender, Sentinel, InTune, etc. So that allows us to rapidly both investigate and respond to security events. So again, what we talked about earlier, that ability for a machine to analyze a much larger data set much more quickly than a human can. Means with a relatively simple prompt, we can get a wealth of information about a security incident and remediate those issues as well. We can do that at scale. We can troubleshoot quickly. And the last one's interesting as well, so we can unlock some of those more advanced skills. So some of the scripting, some of the tasks that we need to resolve security issues. Once we would need a kind of advanced senior security analyst to do that. Those are things that are now unlocked for more junior members of staff using Copilot. So it's there helping to guide those processes. So things like writing scripts or resolving problems. As with all of Microsoft's AI tooling and technology as well, built with security, privacy and compliance in mind. So Microsoft have a responsible AI model that we'll look at on the next slide, but it's built on some kind of foundational principles. So your data is your data, it belongs to you. It's not used to train the foundational models, and it's protected by all of the enterprise security controls and tools that are in place that, again, we already know about. So all of the tools within the Azure platform, including Entra and that kind of thing. So we can use Copilot for security and trust the fact that it's respecting our existing security and privacy setup. So this is a bit on Microsoft's responsible AI principles. So these are applied to AI across the entire Microsoft stack. So whether that's Copilot within Microsoft 365 or the Dynamics platform or security in this case, all built on the same foundational principles. So inclusiveness, accountability, transparency, fairness, reliability and safety, and ultimately privacy and security. So everything that Microsoft do that is built on and driven by AI follows those same principles. So we know that we're working on a reliable, scalable and secure platform. And this is where the USP comes in, I suppose. So Copilot for security is using that large set of telemetry and intelligence that we talked about earlier, but then it's also overlaying that with data that's unique to your organization and to you through that responsible and secure framework. And that's where the real value of Copilot for security comes in. So it can understand the kind of global security landscape, threats that are out there, and the telemetry that's get it from that, and then apply that to your environment. So looking at your specific organizational security data, your threat intelligence data, and your security Copilot data. So as we go through the prompting process, we're looking at that publicly available enormous data set, and then overlaying that with context from your organization to make the recommendations and answers really specific to you. And this is a bit a kind of simplified version of what that process looks like. So as a user using Copilot for security, we submit a prompt. Copilot will then look at the context of that and build a plan as to how to answer that. So what data does it need? What skills does it need to call upon to go and respond to that prompt? Then goes and executes that plan. So that's looking at the foundational model, so the large model, and then combining that with your organizational context and data that's specific to you that's needed to respond to that prompt. Combines all of that together and works out a response. That process is called grounding, where it's taken through your organizational data, that's formatted and then responded back to the user. So everything follows that same kind of journey, depending on whether you're asking it to write a script for you or investigate a particular incident. Those are the steps that the tool's taking there. And then this is the result of that, I suppose. So with our security teams then spending less time on those repetitive tasks and kind of analysing large data sets, that frees them up to accelerate the threat detection and response processes, and that's ultimately the purpose of the role, rather than trawling through large data sets. So we can make sure that those things are happening at machine speed rather than human speed, and we can also fill any gaps in our security team as well, and provide those security analysts the data they need at the right time. So having that context at their fingertips. So an incident is happening, right? Tell me about it. Tell me who's affected. Tell me what I need to do about it. Those things can happen infinitely more quickly than with a human running that process. allows us to bolster the team as well. So we've already talked about the ability to for junior analysts to execute more complex tasks, but we can also speed up work across all levels within the team as well, and create consistency of process in there as well. So using the best practices that are built into Copilot for security, combined with that large data set, ultimately means we can reduce the time to detect and respond to threats. We can shift from being reactive to proactive. Again, that's predominantly by freeing up the time of those analysts so they can focus on the higher value work and that proactive threat detection and management. And we can get a better understanding of risks and strategic improvements because we've got access to such a large data set. So we're not kind of siloed in thinking and just looking at what's going to affect us and our environment, but we're taking a global view and then applying that to our organization with context, so that we can really improve our security posture as well. So what can we do in terms of speed? So, security is ultimately a race between adversary and defender. So these stats around pace are really, really critical. So we can reduce up to 40% of the time on activities such as investigating incidents, responding to incidents, threat hunting, those kinds of things. Massively reduce the time spent on reporting as well. So again, there's no value in collating reports. The value is in the analyst analysing those reports and turning that into action. So if we can generate the report much more quickly and let the human focus on the high value task, which is using that information and that intelligence to then improve the security posture, that's where we want them to be spending their time. Discovering issues sooner and saving up to 84% of time on fixing those issues and troubleshooting them. It's a massive saving. You can see the impact that's going to have on both the teams from a human standpoint, but also the security position. And here we're looking at some analysis around Copilot's capability. So the graphic on the right there is looking at Copilot for Security's response level and what kind of analyst that appears to be from. So you can see they're all mid-level to expert answers there, whether that's generating or analysing scripts, to reporting incidents, to responding to those incidents. So the tools and intelligence that Copilot for Security brings are at kind of expert level in terms of security analysis as well. So again, we're talking about the kind of skill shortage and plugging that gap. Copilot for Security is going to help us do that. And then we talk about accuracy as well. So we've kind of talked about speed, so I won't dwell on that too much. But this piece around accuracy is really key as well. So 44% more accurate in terms of response, and again, that's due to taking the kind of human analysis out of the process there, allowing a machine to do that work. So looking for patterns. Looking for new threats, those kinds of tasks. We can do that at machine speed and scale. So again, that accuracy is going to speed up the process initially. It's also going to save time later on because we're going to get it right first time. We're going to fix it much quicker, and we're going to prevent that issue from happening again as well. So a bit of a recap then. So looking at those responsible AI principles again. So the volume and sophistication of threats and attacks is increasing daily, hourly, as fast as those things can possibly move. So for us, the time to detect and respond to those needs to be getting faster and faster as well, and that's where Copilot for Security can help bring that speed and that scale. Next up, that ability or the challenge around training, retaining, finding that top security talent. Copilot helps us to plug some of those gaps, both by accelerating what the existing teams are capable of, upskilling more junior resources, and reducing some of the overhead time in there in terms of analysis and reporting and that kind of thing. Means we can get a lot more from existing teams. It's going to contribute to point number 3 as well. So, teams are overworked, they're tired, they're unable to focus when they're working across lots of different systems with lots of different data sets and processes and types of reporting. So Copilot for Security is going to allow them to go from that kind of reactive state where they're kind of overwhelmed, to being proactive, focusing on high value tasks, solving important problems. And that's really important from a morale perspective, because that's what those security teams want to be doing. They don't want to be doing the kind of the grunt work and the collation of reports. They want to be analysing them and improving processes and resolving problems. So it's going to allow that shift to focus on the things that they want to be focusing on. And then finally, going from a kind of reactive security position that's not aligned with the priorities of the business and the risk to the business, to a vastly improved understanding through that large foundational model of risks to the business, but in the context of both the kind of global security landscape, but specific to your organisation as well. And that ability to provide that kind of board level reporting that everyone wants without a massive amount of kind of time and overhead there. So Copilot for Security brings a lot and delivers a lot across Microsoft's existing kind of security product set. Allows us to do things at machine speed and scale, and really get much more from existing teams. So if you want to know more about Copilot for security in general, or anything Microsoft, do give us a shout. Thank you.